Welcome, fellow last placers, to another episode of LPF Debrief, where Chris and I talk about TV shows, comics, and movies. And on today's episode, we are going to be giving our thoughts on season one of Peacemaker, directed and written by James Gunn. Fun note, he actually wrote this whole TV show on the set of Suicide Squad, which Chris and I have done a debrief on. So if you want to, you can go back, check that out before coming into this. It's recommended that you watch that because there was some key moments that happened in that movie that progressed to this show, but they do give you a rundown at the beginning. But before we get into anything else, we are going to start the same way we always do by shaming Yendi for not watching content, especially content we think he would like.
This one, for
So,
sure, I think
because
he would
it's
love.
definitely right up his alley with his humor. So, shame.
Shame.
And as always, guys, there will be spoilers on this. Well, we'll just be talking about the season in general.
And this ain't
So
for
if
the
you guys,
kids. This
yes,
ain't for
and
the
this is
kids.
also
Don't
rated
listen to this
M.
in the car or anything. YouTube already knows it's not for the children. All right. We
Yes,
cannot keep this PG. The show
no,
is not that.
the show was not designed to be PG. So please, there is that also. But guys, we also are doing our mouse giveaway still once we hit 100 subs. At the time of this recording, we
We're
are
at
nine at
92.
92. So 8 away, and then we can give away that Steel Series 3 mouse,
Eight
that
away, eight
wireless that we want
away.
to give away. So yeah, with all that being said, let's go right into it. Chris, season one of Peacemaker. What did you think?
I'm gonna rewatch it probably. It was such a good show. It made me laugh really hard. Um, bro, John Cena, fantastic job. I loved him in this. It was great.
Yeah,
Um,
the thing about John Cena, right, is that this is a testament to James Gunn and what he does really well. What he does so well that he puts people in the best position regardless of their acting skills,
mm-hmm.
right? Because I think we can all agree on like consensus that John Cena is not like the best actor, but James Gunn doesn't put him in situations that he cannot like that he will show him being a bad actor. So he only set him up for successful shots, which is why he played this so well. And it also goes on to what I've always said that people like to, directors can make or break movies just as much as the actors do. You can have great actors with terrible directors, and a great actor would look terrible. And you can have, the other way around. You can have not so good actors with great directors, and they just make those people shine. So I think James Gunn deserves a lot of credit for putting John Cena in the perfect situations to always be funny or be like crazy and work his way. And I always, John Cena for me is always going. I'm always going to be rooting for him, just the way, same way I root for The Rock as a person who's loved wrestling all his life. So I'm happy that John Cena got a role like this where he could really shine.
Yeah, man. It was just a surprise of how much I ended up really liking the show. Especially all the supporting cast and everything like that. What's her name? The girl that plays Daniel Brooks, Leota.
Mm-hmm.
Um, yeah, she plays Leota. Sorry. But seeing her in the show, I was very happy for because she was in Orange Is the New Black, and
Mm-hmm.
loved her in that show. She was great. I know she's been in other things, but I mainly know her from that. So seeing her in a comedy role, but she's still like, it seemed like she just played herself. Like that's how she is because um the way she was acting in Orange Is the New Black, it seemed like she got out of prison in Orange Is the New Black and was put in this, and it was just like the same person. And I was like, this fits the vibe. She did such a great job, and I thought that was great. The last episode, which I watched last night, was awesome because of the cameo. The cameo was hilarious. We got to hear. Oh, I almost made a mistake because I was like, we got to hear the Justice League cuss, but they did that in the 4 hour Justice League
Mm-hmm.
thing that they did. But it was really cool. What did you think of the show overall?
Yeah, like I was saying, the show was on paper. The show was supposed to be terrible. like when you look at like because Peacemaker is not like this grand character that people know, or like, which also helps the show in a sense because um this is the same thing that happened similar with what Guardians, right? Where you have characters that you have no idea who they are, and because of that you go in with no expectation. And this is one of those cases where going in with no expectation or very low expectation actually helped a lot because it exceeds your expectation, because you don't expect Peacemaker like to be a good show. It's just you don't expect it at all, right? So then for it to then trans like it, like I said, goes to show to James Gunn's writing and directing ability, because it's like on paper this was supposed to be terrible, and then we just got this fun, laid back, ridiculous show, right? I mean, like from the characters are involved, where you have Peacemaker like Vigilante just being completely wild, like
Eagerly,
you know what I mean?
eagerly,
He's
like
just
having a companion on the
eagerly
side.
giving him hugs, like you know what I mean, that, and like clearly being it like from Hardcourt to Mern to like the twists were really good too, because it always kept you guessing, especially like when Peacemaker has, you know, he actually keeps one of them. So like, you know, like he keeps one of the butterflies. And again, for you everyone, I'm already assuming you've watched the show, but you already know how that ended up with the whole story. And it was just like there was twists and turns everywhere. Like obviously it was super violent, which if you watch Suicide Squad, you kind of knew what to expect coming into Peacemaker, because James Gunn did not hold back in Suicide Squad,
they
and neither does he in this show.
they set it up very quickly in the first episode
Mhm,
with um the sex scene, and then right after just blowing
mhm.
the person
Yeah,
into bits, and I was just like,
yeah,
whoa.
yeah.
Like, it was
Like
so-
it. Yeah, it was ridiculous, and it was supposed to be. And I think that works so well with a character like Peacemaker, because a lot of the stuff is really like it's really crazy and it's really out there. Obviously, with his dad being the way that he is, and being like super like racist and all that stuff, and it even makes you cringe at some times where you're like, oh, like
yeah, bro, I was like,
some of the stuff that he was saying with the officer, where you were just like, oh, like you know what I mean? Like, I really hate this
yeah,
guy.
yeah.
And that's the goal though. You're supposed to hate him, right? Because he did have a traumatic he gave Peacemaker a very traumatic experience, right? So like trying to blame the brother's death on Peacemaker and stuff like that,
And then we
even though
come to find out that he was,
he was the one who staged the whole fight.
yeah, he put the
Like you
kids in
know what I
in
mean?
a ring and made people bet
So
on him and stuff. It was,
yeah, and he just, you know, was he was a character you're not supposed to like. And they did a really good job at that. I thought the butterflies were a very interesting villain.
oof.
Again, you it's it's great because they're not supposed to be these like great villains, right? But because they're just set up so well. And this is another thing that got start up from what you call it, from Suicide Squad, where you remember the Suicide Squad villain was exactly what we thought it
Yeah.
was, what they said it was. And these were like the butterflies, and you were like, oh, I just think there's some superhuman, like, you know, superhuman people. Nope, they're actually butterflies, like things that look like butterflies, but they're super dangerous. And there were so many good choices. I thought the helmet choices were great too, like with the different powers. And he did a lot of good things in that show. And then we find out that he doesn't even want to kill like that. He just feels wrong about killing innocent people. The show definitely is a lot better than a lot. I know a lot of people haven't watched it yet, because it's kind of one of those things like I'm not going to watch a show with John Cena in it, but I
I've
feel like
recommended. I today I went out to lunch with a friend of mine, and I was like, he's like, yeah, I've been watching TV here and there. I was like, oh, have you watched Peacemaker? He's like, no. I
mm,
was like, did you watch Suicide Squad? He's like, yeah. I was like, they have a whole show about him, and I highly recommend it. And he's going home tonight to watch the first episode, so I should be hearing from him soon, I think, about it. But
mhm.
so good, man, so good. Even the the janitor, what's his
Yeah.
name? I have it here, Jamil.
Mhm.
Cracked me up, man. Whenever the episode started with uh
The school when they're
the
in school.
school, yes,
Yeah.
and they're asking him
Yeah.
questions, and he's like, "Do you have an origin story?" And then he
Yeah.
zooms in, and
Yeah.
you hear like the craziness that he has. He's like, "No."
Yeah.
Next question.
Yeah, that and then him making fun of the whole Justice League, within there saying that
Giving
Aquaman
them
has sex
different
with
facts.
fish.
Oh god,
Yeah,
I forgot what the
like
Green Arrow one was.
Green Arrow, he doesn't say it in class. He says it
I
to
know he says it later on. It's like in the last
yeah,
episode, but
mhm,
he's like, "Do you really believe this?" And he's like, "No, that
yeah,
one's actually what's his name,
yeah,
John." And he's like, "No, that one's actually true." He said a lot
yeah,
of crazy stuff, but that one traces.
yeah. But yeah, he's just making fun of and I mean there were so many great scenes, especially the scene where he improvs saying all the names that of the people that could have been arrested,
Instead of his
like
dad, yes, and
instead of his dad, and he just gives like this long laundry list. And if you do have HBO Max, they have the well, you have to watch it on HBO Max because that's where it's on.
yeah,
But if you go to the extras, they actually show him listing more characters. Apparently he did like 84 straight from the head, and James Gunn was just like, "Hey, keep going, like keep going." And there's you can watch it. I think it's on YouTube. And
there's an extra one too that it's like I think it's called Peacemaker, but like podcast, and it's like 38
mhm,
minutes of like
yeah,
how they filmed and everything like that. But like I said, John Cena surprised a lot of people because you know that came out. There was a lot of behind the scenes stuff that they came out and told us. So whenever he played piano,
mm,
nobody believed that was really him. And John Cena can play piano. He was playing
yeah,
piano. They had the camera zoom. I mean, obviously they had the shots of him playing up close, but you know, after people were like, "Oh, that's not really him," like, wow, they posted up the next video of the camera, like, you know, somebody offset just filming him
yeah.
playing the piano in front of everybody.
Mhm.
So I think he himself surprised a lot of people, and
Yeah.
I hope he gets. I hope he continues to play this role. It's so good
Well,
for him.
yeah, season two's already been confirmed.
Yeah.
So yeah. So they're for sure happening. I mean, there's no way that they were going. This is one of those shows that are perfect to do multiple seasons of because you don't necessarily have to follow or put him into a universe. You
Hmm.
already had him in the main movie. You know what I mean? And now you're having him as a side character, which is one of the things DC just needs to do. DC doesn't need to worry about integrating as much as they've been trying to do. Even though we got a good integration here, you don't necessarily need to do it like you don't necessarily need to rush it is what I'm saying. So you can do it little by little and you can add little things here and little things there so that you can make sure you build a universe because that's what it takes to build a universe properly. Just make good stuff
Yep.
and then have it connect well. You just don't worry about the end game of it, which,
Take your
you know,
time, man.
no pun
It's
intended.
working. It's working out for them right now. Is
Mhm.
if they keep continue to take their time, they listen to the fans. They don't rush into things. Everybody's willing to wait.
Yeah.
Everybody, we don't need the story right away. This didn't need to be rushed. We didn't even expect a TV show at the end of Suicide Squad. I thought Suicide
Mhm.
Squad still fantastic. Love that movie, right? And I was starting to think like, oh, this is DC's comeback. Like they're doing great. I know Titans is a good show. I didn't get to see the newest season, but I know it's a good show. But I know it's tough because those shows kind of go unnoticed because they're kind of hidden. Harley Quinn
Mhm.
is bomb. Doom Patrol bomb. Teen Titans
Yeah.
bomb. You know what I mean? But not a lot of people. It doesn't have a lot of exposure to people. So I can see why a company would be like, man, we really got to push something out there so people can start watching this stuff. But if they keep it there, people are gonna go back and watch it. Because
Yeah.
I've caught myself rewatching a lot of DC stuff. Like I'll just go back and watch a random episode of something. So
Mhm. Yeah, like I said, the thing is they just need to make good content.
mm-hmm.
The thing about DC that they have the advantage is their multiverse is already set.
Yep.
Like, so all you have to do is no, like, especially like we have Batman coming out. Like, it doesn't need to be. We can just all of these stories just make good stories, and then later on down the road we'll do Crisis on Infinite Earth as a movie where you can just have as many cameos as you possibly want because you're doing Crisis on Infinite Earth, and then you can have all of the Batmans fighting together. You can do whatever you want. Just make good stories. Like if you just make good stories, we can worry about connecting them later on
Yeah, that's what I
and
was gonna
making it
say.
make sense later on because it doesn't necessarily have to make sense within the same universe. Like
Yep.
everything on, let's just say Earth 1 doesn't have to be connected or and everything doesn't have to be in Earth 1. We can
Yeah.
do it from wherever you want, and I think DC needs to take that approach, which it looks like they're doing. in their defense because again, like you said, DC shows have been really good and they've been really good for a while. They have everything down pat besides their movie universe. Like
And their
I
movie
love their
universe,
TV.
yeah.
Yeah.
Go ahead, go ahead.
I love their TV series. I love their animated series. Their comic books I love. Like honestly speaking, like, and I don't fanboy for either because I love them both. I'm just saying, like, for me personally, besides the movies, I personally think DC does everything else better than Marvel. That's just my personal opinion. But like, I mean, the TV show, Marvel's TV shows are now catching up to DC because now it's all coming through the same thing. But like, I'm just saying, like, as far as like longevity and stuff like that, DC has tend to have really good shows, especially like we said, like Titans and
Doom Patrol and all
Titans,
that.
Doom Patrol, like all that stuff. So and I think now Marvel having everything under their umbrella now are making those high quality shows also. And it's only like I said, competition, right? This is makes it good because now
Yep.
that we have Peacemaker doing well, like you know what I mean, because we just had all those Marvel shows do well. Like we just had WandaVision get nominated for a bunch of stuff. We had, Loki, all that stuff. So all it's going to do is drive competition and they're just going to make their content better. Now, obviously, James Gunn is also a big role to play in this, right?
Yeah.
Because he is playing both sides, which is fine. Like, make your money, James. But that's what DC also needs to do. Get these directors who want to do these content, because remember, a lot of DC characters are a lot of people's like what got them into comic books because a lot of these characters DC's is longer, like has a
Yeah,
longer
I
life
started with
than
Batman.
Marvel.
Like Batman is my
Exactly.
whole is opened the door the whole
Mhm.
world for me of
But I
this
mean,
stuff.
their characters are just older characters
Yeah.
and stuff like that. But you can make it into a fun light. You can do different things, and I like that DC is venturing out and trying all these new things, like Doom Patrol, another show that a lot of people don't know about, but like didn't know about in the comic books, but they had a dedicated fan base. But now that's about to be on season 4.
Hmm.
Like, you know what I mean? Which means people are watching it and people are enjoying that content. So I think if DC can just continue that path, the ones that they're doing now, they'll be just fine. Um
I think they just got caught up with oh, Marvel has all these superheroes
mhm.
put on the screen and this is the first time we've seen it before and everything like that. It's going big. And they wanted to jump into that market. On the business side, I think they wanted to jump in as soon
Yeah,
as
but
possible
then
to stay, and that's what hurt them the most. And you
mhm,
just got to realize, like, hey, they decided to do this first,
mhm.
right?
But
We'll
even
take that L. Let's take our time and kind of redirect in this direction, which I'm happy that they are doing. So,
but
um,
even from that standpoint, like that, this is why that them catching up still didn't make any sense
no,
because even if you made all those movies separate, you still would have made more money than if you, let's say, for instance, right, when okay, so Man of Steel came out, right? You make your Man of Steel, then you do your next Batman movie, right? So like this is all like a prequel to Justice League.
yeah,
You would have made essentially, let's say you had Man of Steel, you would have had a Batman movie, you would have had a Flash movie, you would have had then we could have done another Green Lantern movie. You could have done you did Aquaman, which made $1 billion. So like you could have done and then Wonder Woman, which did really well also. So like you would have had 6 movies, just like it doesn't matter if you follow the Marvel template.
yeah,
People are still gonna go watch it, like
exactly.
watch those movies because you still try to make solo movies after the fact. So not only did you just double waste money, like you wasted what end up hurting you now is that you made these things where people didn't enjoy, and now people are more skeptical to go watch those things. Like you made a Suicide Squad movie that was terrible, and it hurt the remake of
The fact
well, not
that
remake,
whenever a
but
DC movie came out, like a trailer came out, and I would hear people say like, "Well, I gotta wait till Redbox or
mhm.
put it on Netflix because I'm not gonna go to the theater and watch that." Like you have to now. They were in a position, right, where they had to work 10 times as much to gain the trust back. Yeah, you could have made the
Mhm.
greatest work of art for us, but nobody trusted you enough to be like, "No, I'm not gonna go spend 2 hours in there because
Yeah.
last time I gave them my 2 hours, I
Mhm.
hated it." Like, and then I gave them another chance, and they did the same thing to me. I'm not doing that. No, I'll wait until it's in my house. I can watch it in my living room. And I did the same thing with Suicide Squad. When Suicide Squad came out, I watched it on HBO, which was the smart move for them to do, because they were like, well, if we put it in the theaters, nobody's going to go see it in the theater. So we got to do the streaming service thing, even though they probably, to be honest, they probably did not want to do that at all.
No, they already admitted that Suicide Squad was part of the time when they said they were doing it for the whole year.
Oh, okay.
So it was already going to be done.
But I mean, I animated films for them, I've always trusted. I always watch their animated stuff, because I've have not seen a bad animated film from DC. I've loved them all. But redirecting back to the show. I can't wait for season 2 of this. I can't wait for the announcement of that. Do you think we get a piece? Well, no, I wouldn't want a movie. I think it should just stay the show. But do you think we see him in a movie again?
Like I said, that just depends. You can put him in movies, if you wanted to. I wouldn't necessarily think you need to, because again, you can't. The problem with movies also, and it's hard to do this, is that you have to give people enough context, right? Because context is a big thing for people who are watching movies for the first time. Now, as a person who watches all the content, I don't like that they do that, but I understand why they do it. Because I feel, and again, this is like my personal opinion, I feel like if you're going to be in a universe, and watch a universe, then you should watch all the content. I feel like there's enough time to watch all the content. Now, whether you're interested in it or not, I completely understand that too. But I feel like the people who are watching all the content then get hindered because you watch all the content, you know what I mean? And they then dedicate the movies or predicate the movies to people who are not watching all the content. You know what I mean? So because you want to bring in the new audience. Not that they did that in No Way Home, which I love. They didn't do that in No Way Home, which I loved, because it was just well, you need to, this is where all these jokes came from. But they did it still in a very tasteful way of making sure the jokes still stuck even for new people. So I think you can put him in another movie. I don't think it's likely though, because I just, I don't necessarily. I think TV shows are a good route for characters like that, because again, not enough people, unless he's in another Suicide Squad movie, which we don't know what's going to happen, especially according to the way that this one ended with the whole Amanda Waller getting outed and stuff like that. So I don't know if we're going to see another Suicide Squad movie. And I don't even know if you would work, maybe she makes another squad to try to take them out. Who knows, right? Because, so that's a theory that she could just use another ragtag and be like, hey, I want you guys to take out all the past members of Suicide Squad and everyone who was working with for that butterfly mission.
Yeah, I mean? Amanda Waller to me is on the same level as Peacemaker's dad. Whenever she shows up, as soon as I saw him in the scene, I was like, oh, you know what I mean? I was just just skip the scene. I don't want to see it. I know he's bad. Get out of here. I just did not like. She did a great job of being.
Davis is just phenomenal. So
my god, dude!
Because even in the bad Suicide Squad movie, she was excellent.
Yeah.
So,
but going with Vigilante, dude, that guy was a great support character. Yeah. The fact that he's legitimately a serial killer. That's what he is. He's just, that's all he cares about. He's like, what was the line that he said? He's like, what happened to the guy that, we go, or this is what we do. We go out, we kill people. We sometimes accidentally kill the wrong one, our bad. And then we keep going. And I was like, whoa. Wait a minute.
He said a bunch of wild
dude,
stuff.
he was out there, man.
Especially the scene when they go and kill Goff or try to kill Goff, and Peacemaker's having that, he's like, I can't do it. And then he's just like, give me that guy. He's just
and he's just whistling. Yeah. Also, the other one that my favorite scene with him is whenever they get the nurses and he's like, we got to kill them. And they're like, no, we don't. And they're like, okay, we'll tie him up. He's like, okay, well, we can't use duct tape because that'll hurt the skin. And then John's like, so you're okay with blowing their brains all over the room,
Yeah.
but you care about their skin? And he's
I
like,
was like,
yeah.
yeah. But yeah, there was just so many good, like great, funny scenes. I mean, I loved when he literally survived a grenade, which I need some explanation. Like, I don't need explanation, but found that kind of weird. Like, he just dropped the grenade and it was just like, up. And then he just like ends up with like
Because
scars in the
I
door.
thought that was his death scene.
Me too.
I literally thought, I was like, oh shit, like we don't have him anymore. Like that
Mhm.
sucks. But yeah, whenever you see him in the car, he's just, and I was like,
Yeah.
no,
No,
no, no, no,
no.
no, no.
He just ate a grenade, and I'm like, "What?" But, I mean, again, that you can't put that past this show because a bunch of crazy stuff was
Oh yeah,
happening. I
yeah.
mean, we saw Peacemaker getting flown across, especially the scene when he's exiting and he's just jumping down. Like,
And
why didn't he break his
he
leg?
smacks
Like, he's
the each what is it, patio? He's just
yeah, the
smacking
balconies.
patios and stuff. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh my god.
So,
And also,
th
whenever Judo Master was hurting him, that's one of my favorites. Is hurting him with the hot Cheetos. Whenever he's like, "Oh, you
yeah,
want some?" He's like, "Yeah," and he's just flicking at him, and he's like, "Ah,"
yeah.
and he's, you know.
But yeah, I mean, we got some deep, deep cuts from this show. Also, a lot of like there was a lot of Easter eggs in this show. I won't get through all of them, but the existence of Batmite makes me really happy because he mentions him as one of the people. He's like, you don't know who Batmite is, and like the fact that Batmite got mentioned is like a super deep cut in DC, and I'm happy that he even got mentioned. So uh, he's basically an imp, like a fifth dimension imp who dresses up as Batman,
Yeah, he
and
can
he was in the
basically breaks the universe. Like he just
hmm
kind of rips apart. Um, oh man, I forgot what I was gonna say. Keep going, keep
yeah.
going.
But there's, I mean, they basically brought up a bunch of the old like terrible heroes like Doll Man and who else was
They
there?
brought Kite
They
Man. They
brought up
talked about Kite Man.
They talked about Kite Man. Peacemaker actually killed Kite Man. They talked
Yeah.
about the matter eating lad, the dude who just that's a real hero. If you guys don't know, like look up some of these heroes. A lot of them are like real. And there's some books. I have a book actually that has like the top 100 worst like supervillains and like worst superheroes, and there's a lot of bad ones that were made. But it's nice to see that again, someone who cares about the content like James Gunn is someone who does do his research. He does a lot of these things that he likes to go check out and stuff like that and then put them on the screen. So I love that they gave James Gunn like free range. And a fun fact that I found out, this is actually from my brother Kyle. Shout out to Kyle. He actually that Justice League scene was actually shot on the set of Guardians 3. Yeah. so, so technically, and this is not true, but technically, you could say the Justice League was in the MCU. I'm just saying.
How does he know? Wait, what?
A report came out that because they added those characters in, they
Yeah.
added them in. That's why you see like there's half of them, like there's half, but
Well,
they
I
brought
know
in.
because I know they said that the plan was to have Ben Affleck and Gal Gadot be there,
Yeah,
and then the studio didn't want them there, is what I read.
or something like that. I
Something
don't,
like
but
that
yeah,
happened, but I didn't know it was on the set of Guardian. That's
yeah,
pretty
it was
dope.
on the set.
That's so
So
cool, man. Imagine being
yeah,
like that much of a great director that they're like, hey, man, we're gonna fly these people to the movie that you're working on right now, and
mhm,
I mean, it's
yeah.
only a 5-minute clip, so let's just shoot real quick. Do you mind? No, come on in.
Mhm.
You know?
But also showing them too, I do think that was a smart move on DC's part,
Yes.
uh, on WB's part because they're the ones who actually have movies lined up. So it actually makes sense to show those two characters.
Oh yeah,
Aquaman 2 is supposed to
yeah.
be coming out, and Flash at some point supposed to be coming out. So it's good that you keep those characters in the loop. Like, you know what I mean? Like this is a good way. And like I said, not that I expect to see Peacemaker in one of those movies, but what this does though, it does open the possibility. Like, and that's one of the things you always want. Like, you don't want to close it off, right? Like, there's no reason to close it off, especially when the line seemed like a throwaway line during the show, right? When he was just like, "Get us a Justice League," and she's like, "I can't do that right now. They're busy." You
Yeah.
know what I mean? So
Yeah.
like, so like, and then it was there, and like they do show up, and it just goes to show like you never know what can happen. So them doing that, and even doing it the way that they did it with that small little clip, it just opened that room for possibility where you hear things and you're like, oh well, he was talking junk about Green Arrow. Does that mean Green Arrow might show up? Like that's a possibility now. We saw the Justice League, so I think it's a really smart move to do that. And again, use your resources. Like just use them. Who cares? Like what they're in. If it doesn't fit the show, make it fit the show. You don't have to necessarily force it,
Yeah.
but you can still put these guys in. Like you have a plethora of content that you can use, DC and WB. Use it. Don't be afraid to use it. Like put ridiculous people in there. People are gonna have a good time. Like people love freaking Weasel. Like just do things. Like you know what I mean. Like have fun. As long as it's done correctly, people will enjoy it.
Yeah, and bring back Boomerang Man. Anyway, I did like also the fact that scene, they the Justice League that we've seen so far is very serious. There's not a lot of comedy at all in it, and the fact that they're there, it was a comedic scene because whenever he walks up, as soon as he yelled at him, he's like, "You're late, assholes!" Like I was crying. I was laughing so hard at the fact that he's just like, "Man, you have literally the best team right in front of you, and
you couldn't show up on time.
You could care less, and you're like, I like you guys messed this up. This is your fault."
Like you couldn't show up on time.
Yeah, especially Superman. Like whenever he floats in, I was like, "Man, my guy, I've seen you I've seen you stop the Earth. I've seen the Flash run through time, and you're gonna tell me
one of y'all can show up? We only needed one. Like, and that's the thing, though. They just needed one of them to show up.
Let's be real. This Barry probably would have tripped or something. It probably would have made something worse. All right, he was in the same class as the Human Torpedo or whatever. The Shield.
A human. Also, how didn't
she not
Adebayo break everything? Because
she smacked the rock wall, and I was like, "Yo!"
She hit that wall with some intense force. Her whole spine should have been like cracked or something.
Oh, dude! And then whenever she's laying there, I thought she was paralyzed. I thought, and the fact that he was the fact that he says it again, and I knew on his face that it was payback. I knew whenever he's like Human Torpedo, she shoots through the cow. I knew, and I thought he was gonna mention it, like, "Oh, now we're even." But yeah, man, it's so stupid.
Like it was so crazy. Like and it was so great that whole scene, like because all of them are going through like Hardcore, like gets shot, like Hardcore gets shot, and then you have Vigilante get all beat up, and then Diebeard, he ends up like breaking his leg by tripping over the thing,
which sucks for him because he actually became one of my favorite characters. Like, I was
and then
like,
he crawled all the way over there. So like, yeah, man, it was definitely out there, man. But it was a fun, refreshing show to see.
So
like
good.
Just having all of these different like elements from the show and all these things that they added in. And like I said, James Gunn does masterful work on things like this where he can have free range, and he had the range. DC gave him the keys. They let him do what he wanted to do, and we got a really good show out of it. And I hope that we can continue that for the next season. But the thing is, now season 2 is going to have a set of expectations, so we will see like if those can be matched. Because, like I said, but earlier in this episode, is just naturally we had no expectation because he's such a low tier character, like a lower known character.
That we were able
now that expectation is set because we know it can be done. So hopefully they work out all the deals. Hopefully James Gunn keeps this as a writing and directing thing, because I think he's the person obviously with the vision for this show. And I think you want to continue that one voice. Like if he chooses another director, that's like, I think it's okay. Like, but I think James Gunn should
I
have
want him
full
to be
creative control of
he
the
should be
show.
close by.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
mean, he should have full control of the show.
Mm-hmm.
That's what I think. So, all right. So before we wrap it up, let's Chris.
I was gonna say let's name like maybe 3 moments so we can split up the like.
Yeah. Because normally we do this episodic.
Yeah.
Chris, I'm looking at you.
I'm sorry.
So, but yeah, just give a couple of your favorite moments of the
okay.
show.
I'll go from 3 to 1. All right. So number 3 is the Cheeto scene. I loved it. I kind of wish we saw more of Judo Master because Judo Master cracked me up when how angry he got and how much people made fun of him, and he's just like, he wouldn't say a word. He's just like, I'm just gonna whip your ass. That's it. That's all I got to do. Second one is when Vigilante wants to use the chainsaw. And John comes up and uses the chainsaw and he's like, what the hell, man? I totally said that was, like freaking out. And the last one, because these are going to be all action scenes. The last one, I really liked when Peacemaker had his shield, throws it up, and then you see him take out the gun and he like lines it up and shoots the shield into somebody else. I was like, this is dope. This is probably the most badass moment.
I love that they used the opening music. Which, we didn't even talk about.
Oh, no, we did not. Yeah.
So that is my favorite moment of the show.
You're right.
Is literally the intro, because I can't speak on, like, it's very few. I do this with some animes, but most of the time, especially now that we have the option to skip intros, I normally will skip intros. I did not skip the intro not one time this entire show. I watched it all 8 times.
I'd be on my couch.
It is just hilarious. The song is just a perfect choice. And speaking of the music, that's another thing I didn't mention. The soundtrack, James Gunn special, always. This man just knows how to pick soundtracks. Like, he can pick his soundtracks from Suicide Squad to Guardians 1 and 2. This show. This man soundtracks are fire. You can also get them on Spotify, so you can check those out. But so I would definitely say my favorite moment is definitely that intro, because they're so serious, but they're doing this hilarious dance, and everyone is legit and on point, like just clean. So that's probably my favorite part. I did love like I said, the crazy deep cut references. Like I said, matter eating lad, like Batmite. Like, I love that stuff because I think it's just fun to have that in that especially in that kind of a universe. I thought was fantastic. And I would have to say my other favorite would just be like the vigilante interactions. I just feel like they made this weird like Deadpool style character that really like is not like obviously like fourth wall breaking, but like he's just.
I did get that vibe too. Man.
Like,
I got that
you
vibe,
get that vibe obviously because the costume looks similar and all that stuff. But even like just the way that he talks, like the interactions and all the stuff where he's like, "Oh, this is my BFF," like all that stuff. Vigilante was like a big surprise that like it kind of just made the show even better in my opinion. So I'd say those are my 3 things for this show, but. Anything else you wanted to add, Chris?
No, I think that's it, man.
Yeah, so thank you guys for joining us on this episode of Debrief, where we talked about season 1 of Peacemaker. You guys already know we will be here for season 2. Once that comes out, whenever it comes out, I would assume it's going to be sometime next year, because depending on when they start filming.
I'm sure we'll hear about it at DC Fandom if they do it this year.
They're probably. I mean, they already announced it. We already know, but I'm interested to see when they start filming.
Yeah,
I'd say because James Gunn does have to finish Guardians.
Yeah, but also we were surprised with the show, like the fact whenever they announced it, they're like, "Hey, this is coming out like in a couple months." So I feel like they might take that route again. That Nintendo route of like, it's already been made.
Well, I mean, I'm sure he has some shots and stuff like that, because that's what they tend to do.
Yeah.
Especially if they like have confidence, because they know before we do that if they're going to get renewed or a potential of being renewed.
Yeah.
So they already know. So he probably has some stuff stashed away. So I'm excited for that. We'll definitely keep you guys posted on that. I think we are done with shows for a while, actually. I think this is our last one in a minute. I know we got
Arcane.
some movies coming up.
We were going to talk about
Arcane.
Arcane.
We are going to do. even though it's late, but I
Yeah.
have to talk about it.
Yeah.
What did you finish it already?
I got 2 more episodes.
Okay.
2 more.
So we will be doing an Arcane episode. Obviously, we'll have some things in between while we wait for Moon
we'll
Knight.
fill in some
I
stuff
know,
that we've been.
yeah.
Yeah.
Chris and I have been discussing some things that we want to do. So guys, be on the lookout on that. Also, again, 8 subs away from the mouse giveaway. So please tell a friend.
Yeah.
Let us know what you guys think about the show in the comments. We want to hear all that good stuff. And if you want to be a guest, come through, let us know. Chris and I would love to hear other opinions on the show. Also, shout out to Dan. We are going to get you on the show. So be prepared. And Guy, because Guy also watches a lot too. So shout out to you boys. But that is going to be it for us today. And shout out to everyone else who watches. Don't feel left out.
We love you, baby.
Yeah. So if you just let us know if you guys want to be on, just let us know.
Right.
So you guys know the topics we talk about. So come on down. But that is going to be it for us today. We will see you guys we'll see you guys sometime this week. And Fire Team out.